Now you might think that having less of something isn't necessarily a good thing, but in this case you could be wrong. You see, the car we have here is the Aston Martin DB11 V12, and that's got a 5.2 litre twin turbocharged engine. However, the car we have here is the new Aston Martin DB11 V8 model, and that's got a 4 litre V8 twin turbocharged engine derived from Mercedes AMG products. It's got 503 brake horsepower, which is about 100 brake horsepower down on the V12, but it's got a similar amount of torque, but crucially, it weighs 115 kilograms less. And when it comes to cars, the less they weigh, the better they tend to handle. So could it be that the DB11 V8 model is the DB11 to buy? So the question is, has that reduction in weight had an effect on the DB11's handling? And the answer is absolutely it has. Now the nose feels much lighter, and when you turn into a corner, you can feel that as the car feels more nimble. It wants to respond much quicker to your inputs. And the steering, they've changed the weighting slightly, so it's actually got a little bit heavier, but that's good because it gives you a bit more feedback so you can gauge what those front wheels are doing. The thing is though, this is still a rear-wheel drive car, and you do need to be a bit careful. It's got less power than the V12, but the weather's changed, it's now raining, and on the way out of corners you need to be a little bit judicious with the throttle, because with 503 brake horsepower going through those rear wheels and the limited traction, it just wants to swap ends on you if you just give it too much gas. And there's so much torque from this engine low down that all that kind of performance comes in a big rush, and it's very easy to overwhelm the rear tyres. And oh boy, this engine does sound good. It's great in the AMG models, but here Aston Martin have dialed out a little bit of the low down boominess you get with that and given it a slightly higher pitched, racier tone. And boy, when you get on it, oh, just lovely. And little pops and crackles as you change down. And it's actually more involving than the V12 engine in some ways. It feels more like a driver's car, whereas the V12 is more that kind of grand tourer, smooth, long distance machine. Oh yeah, that's lovely. That's lovely. And then of course there's a driving position which you kind of want spot on in a car like this for two reasons. One, you're going to be doing lots of miles in it, potentially, and also it's a powerful car, and on roads like these you kind of want to feel a bit of one with the thing. And I've got the steering wheel just where I want, there's a good amount of adjustment to it, the seat's comfortable, and also I've got plenty of elbow room, which is something that isn't particularly common with Aston Martins, which tend to be a bit constricted. It's still not quite like an S500, for example, which is a bigger car, and then you've got the Bentley GT, which again feels similar to this, but has more space and practicality. So the rear seats in this are pretty small. You get some kids in there, but that's about it. And then the boot's quite small as well, so you need to pack light for your intercontinental trip. It does feel very well appointed in here as well. So typical Aston Martin, we've got lots of leather everywhere. It's a bit of a vibrant colour in this one, this rather leery purple, but the stitching is all beautiful. We've got carbon fibre trim on the doors, but you can have that replaced with wood veneers of your choice. And also, we've got some decent infotainment system. It's the Mercedes system, so it's not quite as good as a BMW iDrive or something like that, but it's still much better than Aston Martins of old with their rather outdated Garmin systems. But what's really nice about the DB11 is it's got this other side to it. So yeah, you've got the ferocity when you want, but if you just press this sport button on the steering wheel, and that just dials back the modes, we're in GT mode now, which gives you softer suspension and quietens off the exhaust a little bit. And now it's a car that you sit there and think, well, I could do several hundred miles driving through Europe and enjoy this, be comfortable, and get out feeling quite refreshed at the end of it. So the question we wanted answering at the start was, is the V8 the best DB11 you can buy? No doubt about it, yes. It's so much more engaging to drive than the V12. However, is the DB11 V8 the best GT car you can buy? Well, that depends on whether you want something with a luxury or sporting feel. For wafting along, the Mercedes S500 Coupe still rules the roost. But if you prefer to pick the Alpine route just for kicks and giggles, then the DB11 is the one to make you smile.